Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg and it is the 10th day of September 2024 and welcome to our show today. I'm going to move right into this morning. We've got John Tater on with Lawful Defense here at 9 o'clock and we're going to be talking about I got out of my comfort zone once again and John's been teaching me and many other people have been giving me the courage to go ahead and file a pro se lawsuit. I got it filed. I have all my cards back for the summons that was delivered. And we're going to talk about that this morning at 10 o'clock. It's Courtenay Turner with Real History, which is always really interesting to see the dots connected. And then 11 o'clock is our J6ers, Political Prisoners in America with Jalise Middleton. And we're bringing the stories together of how and interviewing people who have been political prisoners or on trial for it or going to be sentenced for it so that they can tell their story. And honestly, what I really want to do is archive this so that we've got evidence going forward of the crimes that they've committed, the egregious crimes of having political prisoners that are being held on American soil unlawfully. So with that said, I'm going to bring John on. Hey, John, what's happening?
Everything, anything and everything.
Well, that's kind of like a lot. That's huge. So I wanted to, is there anything that you wanted to address this morning that you're seeing out there that are of concern?
Well, everything's of concern. The fake news, the fake government, the fake court system, it's all fake. Everything out there is fake.
All of it. And they're funding both sides of this. If people don't have that figured out, and I'm not talking just Democrat and Republican, I'm talking when you see something happening, behind the scenes, you're probably safe to say that the FBI or the feds are on both sides of the issue, funding it. It's not just one side, it's both sides. So a lot of the people that are playing the victim right now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not buying it. I've seen too much and I'm calling out the crap. I went to a meeting this week and it's going to be a very unpopular thing, what I have to say. But I'm going to make my case when I publish the videos from this. But the entire meeting was about fear, making everybody in the audience full of fear. And when I stepped up and I said, you've been speaking a lot about, holding people accountable. What's your plan to hold the FBI accountable? Well, you can't do that. That's going to be bad. They're going to come after you. And they said, and then they said, well, I'm not, but if you're a Christian, you're going to be on a watch list. I'm like, put my name right at the top of that. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you want to be, you want to put me on a watch list, make sure I'm the first name, the biggest name there to be on that watch list. It's nonsense. And the fact that they refused to come up with a solution, and we're talking,
Who are you talking to, by the way?
Well, I'm not going to throw it out there at this moment. Maybe I will.
Yeah, you better.
I will. I went to a meeting where the Null brothers were there. And the entire time it was about fear. And I sat there and I'm like going, and then I asked him that question, what are you going to do if you're talking about, because one of them decided that they want to run for governor and the whole audience were like, yeah, run for governor. And I'm sitting there going, you don't have somebody run for governor because they're a victim. You have somebody that runs for governor who's going to fight for this state and is not going to be afraid. And as soon as I put something out there and I asked him a question, because I went in there with an open mind, I was kind of excited to meet him, and they were like, oh, you can't hold the FBI. You're going to be on a watch list. And I'm like going, you're already on a watch list if you're doing anything right.
All right. Everybody, come on, people.
So I was just like, this seemed like Ryan Kelly 2.0 for me. And I know somebody who has seen the pictures of where Ryan Kelly is supposedly incarcerated. And that informant told me it looked like a summer park. So there's something going on there. And I'm not buying any of this bull crap. All of them were placed. The only one that wasn't placed or chosen from the beginning, that was from the Fabulous Five that the Republican Party put out there, was Donna Brandenburg. And that's why they had to get me off the ballot. And it was the Republicans that removed me. So just so anybody knows. They had to working in conjunction with the Democrats, but it was the Republicans that were behind this. So I'm going to show you the cards, the summons card right there.
You do know now that the Supreme Court ruled that if you were damaged during the election process, that you can bring the cases to court, and they have to listen to them.
Which cases are you talking about?
Any case, if you
what did they rule on? Give me the basis of that.
Well, I kind of just heard it in on the air on X22 and haven't done any research on it. But the Supreme Court ruled that if you were damaged in any way by the election process, that you can sue and be brought to a hearing in that process.
Well, that's
I'm going to do some looking into it because I haven't seen it. I just heard it.
Let's do that because I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to tell you what, another one that really damaged me was Gateway Pundit calling me billionaire down at Brandenburg. And I had somebody who's an attorney down in Florida say, you will never get away from the damage that they caused you by calling you a billionaire and lumping me in by that association with every non-trustworthy billionaire on the planet. I'm not a billionaire, never even gotten close.
Well, you can sue Gateway Pundit for false.
I think that that's something that has to be done because that was absolutely liable. It was a printed lie. Yeah. They never retracted it. And even if they did, there was too much damage that was done. And it also did damage to me during the election. And there was no apology. And you know what? I hate to say it. You know, I work for a living. I still work every day. I'm not sitting on my laurels. It's not just that I do this. It's that I still work every day. And nobody would step up to help me because they're like, oh, she's got all kinds of money. She can do this all by herself. Well, you know what? Shame on anybody who had that opinion in the first place, because the only way this is going to work is if all of us work together. And shame on anyone that expects to sit back there like a baby bird being fed that refuses to be an adult and get in the fight, because they're going to compromise or they're going to try to destroy anyone that's willing to step up and step forward, especially those people who are honest. Why do you think they went after General Flynn? That's exactly why. Why did they go after President Trump? That's exactly why. So I'm going to show you my cards, John, because you're going to like this. So, okay.
A little side note here: when I was running for governor,
Jonathan Brater. Again. Jonathan Brater. Okay. The Gretchen Whitmer, and they're all accepted. Dana Nessel, and last but not least, criminal in chief, Jocelyn Benson.
Yeah, good.
So I got all that mattered in this, and it's a very targeted suit. And here is the original copy with the case and the judge.
Who is the judge? What's his name?
It's Christina Elmore.
Federal court.
No, it's
State circuit court.
It's circuit court. It's 17th. My favorite number, by the way, the 17th Circuit Court. And so I'm really, really excited about this because it's just, it was like one of those things that was kind of like, well, I don't want to screw this up because if I set a bad precedent, I don't want to do.
No such thing as a bad precedent.
All right. Well, I'm getting past that. And thank you for tatering me on that one because, but the reality is that I wanted to do it the right way.
That was the little p patriots saying that you can do bad precedent. You can't set bad precedent.
Well, let me tell you.
Anything can be challenged, right? Chevron, right?
Yeah. So I finally got got myself going on this one, and I'm kind of excited about this, quite honestly. So we're going to go over this, but tell me about your thing when you ran.
When I ran for governor back in 2 elections ago or 3 elections ago, I don't remember.
Which you should have won.
The newspaper, Detroit News, printed that I was in favor of electronic, of the new electronics coming on board. This was the smart meter, and I was battling the smart meters. I, in fact, made a smart meter guard to prevent DTE from changing the meters over. And you could even look it up. It's called the Tater Guard. It's on the internet. And so I was doing that, and I was fighting that battle. And they put on in the Detroit News that I was in favor of smart meters. So that was just before the election, just before. And so I had a couple of my friends that were following me and said, "Hey, how come you're saying you're for the smart meters?" And I said, "I never did that." So I called Detroit News and I argued with them. This was on page 1 of the Detroit News. They did a retraction on page 25 in the very bottom left-hand corner to retract what they said, that I was not in favor of smart meters, but it was after the damage was done.
Yep, and you can never recover from that when they print something that is damaging like that. It will be in a certain amount of the population's head from now until Christ comes back.
Right. That's right. And that's exactly what one of the games that they played. And there were other games that they played on the news when I was on actually live on television. They played, and I don't remember the host because most of those guys are morons. One guy had written in the back, "The New Democracy" or something like that. And I would have argued that point, but then he probably would have just shut me off. So I didn't argue that point, but I was arguing for the Republic. There was a lot of games were being played on me. One host said, "Hey, I hear that you're against the smart meters. You think that's going to get you to Lansing to be the governor, being on smart meters? That's your number one priority?" It's just one thing. It was one thing after another. So
yeah,
that's how they destroy candidates.
And the good ones, they will elevate the ones that they want. We don't have a choice in the system today.
That's right.
Because the parties are only putting in people that are part of their group, and that's really too bad. You know, I'm the vice chair of the U.S. Taxpayers Party, which is the Constitution Party in the state of Michigan, and we are constantly trying to hold the line against that kind of nonsense because we have ballot access. Do you need to do that to have ballot access? Well, if you don't, you got to go through the signature thing, and most people can't make it through that point. And then you got the Board of Elections that is sitting there. Really, that's the spigot to either let people in or not. That's the valve. Either you get in through the Board of Elections through the signatures, or you are going to be deep sixed. And we don't have integrity in our Board of Elections at all. So if you go in as an independent or something like that, the chances are, no matter what, you're going to get knocked off the ballot because they've got it rigged at the signature level right off the bat. And I would, it is my opinion that they were probably involved with the signature gatherers at some level, but we just don't quite have that where it needs to be yet.
Well, I did get 18,000 signatures, and I only ended up with 6,000 votes.
Well, I had
discrepancy there.
I had about 28,000 signatures, and I had 28,000 signatures, and I got 15,000 votes, and I was all over the state. And it's like, it really is not even possible for those numbers. My son got voted in as precinct delegate in a very small area. He had 450 some votes, and he never campaigned. He never made one phone call. He never did it. He just got his name on the ballot, to be voted on, and he got and I was literally all over the state. There's no possible way that those numbers were reflected or correct. But I digress. Well, let's go.
Fake. It's fake.
It's all fake. The whole thing is fake. So I wanted to bring forward this and tell you that we're going to go through this a little bit.
Okay.
And some of the pertinent facts are that Gretchen Whitmer and her Gretchen Whitmer, Jocelyn Benson, Dana Nessel, and Jonathan Brater are on this lawsuit. And this is about unlawful delegation of authority, which is violation of MCL 168.509V. And This is having to do with voter registration. And the Secretary of State created an API to allow nonprofits to register voters in a non-lawful API. This is what this is all about. So we're going to just read it. It's relatively short, but I want to read it because I know there's some people out there that don't read, that actually watch. That's true. Plaintiff, pursuant to Rule 3 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, files the following. Plaintiff, pursuant to Rule 3 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, files the following complaint against defendants. Plaintiff seeks declaratory and injunctive relief to prevent election fraud in the upcoming November 2024 elections. As one of the people of the state of Michigan, it is my duty to address egregious errors conducted by executive officials in violation of constitutional law. And here are the contents. We've got the introduction, the parties, jurisdiction and venue, facts of the case, Secretary of State's API, designated voter registration agency, electronic registration, designated voter registration agencies directed to use the Secretary of State's website, designated voter registration agencies not allowed to submit remotely, and the defendants are not immune. Okay, this is going slow. Unlawful delegation of authority is count 1, and request for relief. Hang on a minute, we're running through several things here. I should have probably just downloaded that. You know what? Hang on a second. I'm going to go ahead and do this a different way because I brought it up just through my email, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to just download a copy of this. And so this has to do, and then there's actually a lot more to this, which is going to be real funny. Quite honestly, it's going to be very funny when we dig into this because it's how do I say it? It's going to lead to complicated entanglements for these people. Oh, this is interesting. So it's kind of messing with my email. Do you have any comments right now while I'm trying to get through this?
Well, the only comment that I have, and it's already filed, so it doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but you need to use Norton more often.
Well, hang on a minute. You're going to love this.
Okay.
So, well,
Yeah.
actually, Norton, I'm not sure Norton came up in this one.
Well, public function, the terminology you need to use. They're public functionaries, not officials.
Right.
That's one. And so you got to kind of, I don't know if it's going to make a difference, in the court, but you've got to show them where you're coming from, so to speak. And when you go in and start using Norton and you start using the terminology of Norton, you'll get more, how will I say, more bang for your buck, so to speak, more power behind you. And it's not that you did it wrong or did it bad. I used public officials in the past. But I've seen that when you start using Norton and using the terms of Norton, you start getting them very excited.
Well, we're getting there. Hang on just a minute. All right. Where did I save it? Right here. I'm going to get it here just a minute. All right. Bammo. Okay. Let me stop that screen and let's try another one. It was bogging down on me, so we gotta change things a little bit here. That's what we do here on Brandenburg News Network. If one thing doesn't work, we go to next. So I was slowing down. I was getting too slow, and I'm not that patient.
In fact, if you, for some reason, you get bounced on this thing, you can go back and rewrite it using the terms of Norton and resubmit it.
Okay.
So
well, that's
that
good.
would not be a bad thing either.
That's good. So we'll see what happens. So unlawful delegation of authority and also request for relief. Voter disenfranchisement occurs when a valid vote of an eligible citizen, a qualified elector, is nullified by the illegal vote of a non-citizen or otherwise ineligible voter. Michigan Law 168.509V defines the entities who may legally register citizens to vote, which does not include non-governmental organizations. Yet the Secretary of State's own website publishes and encourages the use of an API that can be used by NGOs for the purpose of voter registration. This is a direct violation of Michigan law, and petitioner claims the evidence shows there is sufficient evidence of maladministration of the process of proving citizenship requirements. Donald Williams is just like jumping up and down right now. That's his turn.
That's good so far.
Petitioner claims that violating the constraints set down by MCL 168.509V is an unlawful delegation of authority of the local clerks in the office of the Secretary of State. Petitioner claims her certified legitimate vote has been, or will be nullified by ineligible electors, and seeks immediate relief from the courts to enjoin the Michigan Secretary of State from using the API. Petitioner further seeks to demand that the state of Michigan bear the burden of proving that no registrations accepted via the API in any previous and the current ongoing election came from NGOs or any other entities that are not explicitly specified in MCL 168.509V would render ineligible the registrants they facilitated under the Michigan Constitution, and thus the electors registered thereby are unqualified until they are registered by lawful means. Parties: Donna Brandenburg, plaintiff. Donna Brandenburg is a U.S. citizen and domiciled in Michigan. Gretchen Whitmer, defendant. Gretchen Whitmer, a U.S. citizen domiciled in Michigan, is the governor of Michigan. Jocelyn Benson, defendant. Jocelyn Benson is a U.S. citizen domiciled in Michigan, is the Secretary of State for Michigan. Dana Nessel, defendant. Dana Nessel is a U.S. citizen domiciled in Michigan, is the Attorney General of Michigan. Jonathan Brater, defendant. Jonathan Brater is a U.S. citizen domiciled in Michigan, is the director of the Michigan Bureau of Elections, which is a division of the Michigan Department of State. He has been involved in various aspects of the Michigan electoral process and is a key figure in discussions about voter registration, election security, and the implementation of state election laws. Jurisdiction and venue. The 17th Circuit Court of the State of Michigan has subject matter jurisdiction over this action pursuant to MCL 600.605. The venue is proper in this court pursuant to Title 18 U.S.C. 1391B2. A substantial part of the lawful actions or willful omissions giving rise to the claims in the action. This action occurred in the state of Michigan. Facts of the case. Now, this is where it gets important, so everybody knows what was really going on. As announced by Secretary of State API, as announced by the Secretary of State in a news item entitled "New Tool Allows Civic Groups to Conduct Voter Registration Drives Digitally," published on June 15, 2020, the Secretary of State offers API, application programming interface, i.e., a means to send data from one website to another, access to private organizations or individuals to allow them to submit voter registrations on behalf of voters. Plaintiff asserts that this is illegal under MCL section 168.509V, and it is the court's obligation to compel defendants to come into compliance with state and federal laws. Designated Voter Registration Agency. MCL 168.509V limits the places where voter registration is allowed to take place. Section 1C allows for voter registration at a designated voter registration agency when submitting an application, recertification, renewal, or change of address at the voter registration agency. This is defined in Section 168.509M2A as follows. Designated voter registration agency means an office designated under Section 509U to perform voter registration activities in this state. The list was revised by an executive order 2023-6. Plaintiff claims defendants operated outside of the law specified in MCL .509U1. Since no provisions in the law is made for an executive branch to change this list after a period of 30 days from the effective date of January 10, 1995, without legislative action under Article 3, 2 of the Michigan Constitution of 1963 to include the following agencies: the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, the Michigan Department of Military Veteran Affairs, the Michigan Rehabilitation Services of the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunities Office of Employment and Training, the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons of the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity Office of Employment and Training, Wage and Hour Division of the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunities Bureau of Employment Relations, the Michigan Workers Disability Compensation Agency, the Workforce Development of the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunities Office of Employment and Training, and Michigan State Housing Development Authority. The lawful authorization for designated voter registration agencies is limited to designated governmental offices only. Michigan law does not allow for the provision of an API accessible from outside of governmental agencies for the purposes of voter registration. It is the obligation of the court to demand defendants in their official capacity to direct and oversee compliance with the state statutes on conducting elections, and that these election laws be strictly adhered to according to the Constitution of the state of Michigan and established federal statutory laws. Electronic voter registration, MCL 168.509V3, allows for a person who is not registered to vote at the address where he or she resides may apply to register to vote by submitting an electronic voter registration application as provided in Section 509II. Section 501II mandates that the Secretary of State shall develop and maintain an electronic voter registration interface to allow the applicant to submit in a voter registration application electronically through the Secretary of State's website. This does not allow for the use of a public API where other organizations can submit voter registrations on behalf of the voter. It only allows the Secretary or the state of Michigan, it only allows the state of Michigan to include an electronic voter registration system on the official Secretary of State website. Designated voter registration agencies directed to use Secretary of State website. As per Executive Directive 2023-6, designated voter registration agencies are directed to process voter registrations not using an API, but by directing voters to the main Secretary of, or the main state of Michigan's, sorry, I'm going to say this again, to the main, let me start over this section. As per Executive Directive 2023-16, voter registration agencies are directed to process voter registrations not using an API, but by directing voters to the main state of Michigan website's voter registration system. So even governmental agencies are directed to not build their own systems, which send data by API. Designated voter registration agencies not allowed to submit remotely. MCL 168.509V1 limits the locations where voter registration applications can be submitted. Registrations can be done at the location of a designated voter registration agency, but the only authorization for online or remote submission of a voter application is through MCL 168.509V3, which authorizes the state of Michigan to accept them on the main state of Michigan website as per 501II. As such, offering an API where non-governmental organizations can allow for the submission of voter applications remotely from outside of the authorized locations is unlawful and would only be allowed to be done by the Central State of Michigan website under 168.509II. Even designated voter registration agencies do not have this remote ability as defined by the law. The defendants are not immune. No defendant in this instant case enjoys legal immunity of any sort. Immunity is not a defense in the complaints seeking immunity is not a defense in complaints seeking injunctive relief, and immunity fails when defendants willfully or negligency violate the law. It is imperative for the courts that the court oblige itself to exercise its authority on behalf of the plaintiff with urgency to rectify the unconstitutional actions taken, causing extreme harm to the plaintiff. The 11th Amendment in the United States, the 11th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution is the basis for various immunity doctrines used by government defendants. However, the Supreme Court's decision in Ex parte Young, 209 U.S. 123, 1908, has been interpreted for more than 100 years to mean that sovereign immunity does not prevent people harmed by state agencies acting in violation of federal law from suing officials in charge of the agencies in their individual capacity for injunctive relief.
Very good.
In addition, if a defendant willfully or negligently violates the law, then they are stripped of immunity. The other defendants are clearly negligent. They all have official jobs related to election integrity, yet hundreds of thousands, possibly millions, of non-citizens have been registered to vote in the upcoming elections. It is the government's obligation to come into compliance with all laws pertaining to elections or present their burden of proof, which the evidence shows they have been or continue to be clearly in violation of. Count 1, unlawful delegation of authority, MCL 168.509V, registration to vote at certain locations by mail or online. Plaintiff restates all paragraphs above in this complaint and incorporates them herein by reference. The API being run by the Secretary of State is an unlawful delegation of authority to accept voter registration applications solely held by the state to third-party intermediaries in violation of the provisions of MCL 168.509V. The plaintiff has suffered irreparable damage or irreparable injuries as a direct result of those defendants' failures to properly register voters in accordance with the process defined by law. Plaintiff's legitimate votes risk dilution anytime an ineligible voter casts a ballot, and inaccurate voter registration rolls undermine plaintiffs' confidence in Michigan's electoral system. Plaintiff also harmed if she is required to divert resources to address issues caused by defendants' failure to maintain Michigan voter rolls in compliance with federal and Michigan law. Plaintiff will continue to be injured by the defendant's violation of MCL 168.509 until they are enjoined from violating the law and are required to identify and remove the names of illegally registered voters from the rolls. Plaintiff has had no adequate remedy at law beyond the judicial relief sought here pursuant to MCL 168.509 and the obligation of the court to adhere to the recent Supreme Court rulings on Chevron USA, Inc. versus Natural Resources Defense Council, Inc. The court fulfills that role by recognizing constitutional delegations, fixing the boundaries of the delegated authority, and ensuring the agency has engaged in reasoned decision-making within those boundaries. Michigan versus EPA 576 U.S. 743, 750, quoting Allentown Max Sales and Service, Inc., v. NLRB. Request for relief. Wherefore, plaintiff respectfully requests that the court enter judgment in this favor and defendants, providing the following relief. 1, a declaratory statement that defendants are in violation of the law in counts 1. 2, an injunction requiring the defendants to fully comply with any existing procedures that Michigan has in place to ensure ineligible voters are identified and removed from the rolls. 3, an injunction requiring the Secretary of State to shut down the voter registration API and return to lawful voter registration process. 4, an injunction requiring defendants to purge any registrations processed through the unlawful, unverified submission pathways facilitated by the SOS-CIS API found within the Michigan voter registrations database and systems, and do this immediately. 5, an injunction prohibiting the use of professional voter registration efforts by NGOs, etc., and instead requiring them to direct voters to properly authorized channels under MCL 168.509V. An injunction levying a $2 million fine plus $10,000 for each violation, where a violation means a single unlawful voter registration payable to each individual defendant committing the violation of this injunction to be paid by the individual, not the county, state, or federal agency for which they work for. Plaintiff's reasonable cost and expenses to this action, including attorney fees and all other further relief to which the plaintiff may be entitled to, respectfully submitted this 26th day of August 2024.
Very good. Very good. You should get some traction from it.
I believe that that's the current one. I've got to look at this. So I want to, let me pull this out here because this is the original case. And it is, hang on a minute. I want to make sure I got that date. I put the right one out there with the correct date on it.
We'll see how honest your judge is now.
Oh, we'll see.
You might have to add her to the list if she doesn't proceed with this appropriately.
Yeah, we'll see. But it doesn't matter. I mean, I think the main thing here is that, honestly, that we went forward with this in an area that I have no... Yep, that's correct. That I have had no previous experience with. And I've got my summons here, my cards here, and we are all set. And today I'll be returning those summons cards, and we're in business here. So that is the case. That is what it's about. And so now that Mr. Tater has had a chance to actually hear the entire case and the world in front of God and everyone, and this is just the beginning, because once you get this figured out, I have a bunch of them sitting in the queue. We're going to go after these people.
Yeah.
We're going to go after them. And if they can't build the state right, we're going to do it without them. Okay. And I can see all sorts of wonderful projects that can spin off of this if we do what they should have been doing in the first place, and taking that win and putting it into things that benefit we the people. And that's what's going to happen.
Good.
So there you go. So any concerns that you have over it that might come up, or did I do well? I appreciate the encouragement.
I think you did well. There's a few issues at form, but it's not, that's form. You want them to get into the substance. You don't care about form anyway.
Okay.
I mean, you followed the correct format for filing the case. I mean, the heading and all that stuff. You didn't put a title in there necessarily, which you probably should have. But I mean, that's form. We're not dealing with form. We want to deal with substance. Okay. So we'll see how the judge handles this. This should be concerning the four, and you should be providing a little bit of fear for the four of them.
Well, not only that, but going into discovery or providing other evidence is going to be a really painful process for them. And so I'm kind of looking forward to that part of it, because there's plenty out there that perhaps are connected in ways that they wish nobody would have ever found.
Well, the fact that you've been citing the Michigan compiled law right along, that's pretty powerful. That's pretty helpful. The judge can't, I don't see a whole lot of wiggle room there. But, the case of the matter is that our court systems are fake in Michigan. Our executive branch is fake in Michigan. Our legislature is also very fake in Michigan, because this should have never happened. All the legislature that's been involved in this, and that was probably, I would guess, about 80% of them, those people are all liable for what's going on too. I mean, you're picking on the executive branch that should have no power at all in elections, according to Pacific states. That all comes from the legislature. The executive branch has really overstepped their authority, but we'll see where, like I said, we see where it goes with the court system, which is fake. So,
well,
what can I tell you?
I want to put some other stuff out there, because this is honestly the way that the Constitution Party in Michigan is going to go. We're going to go forward not only to give people the opportunity to run for offices, so we have to have a way to get people in there. That's not what's going on with the major parties.
Sure.
Because I mean, this whole thing is so rigged, guys, and it's rigged right into the parties. If we don't have another option, a quick option, and that's going to depend on how many people have the guts and the fortitude to do things against the scorn of everybody else out there, but to find another way to do this. And it's going to take you and I standing together on our principles on this to do it for. So I want to show you a couple things that we're working on right now, because this is also, I'm going to tell you right now, down in Brandenburg, need help, because I'm willing to help do the work, but we need some more help. So I wrote five resolutions. Let me see if I can get here a minute. I wrote 5 resolutions for our convention for the U.S. Taxpayers Party. And a couple people jumped in and are helping rewrite these so that we can have something to sink our teeth in. And we are going to be sending this to our elected officials. And there's probably going to be
public functionaries.
Public functionaries. And I'm going to say that I'm going to show you the draft that we're working on right now, that this is pretty close to being done, because I do think, let's see, I think this is it. I do think that everybody honestly needs to jump in with us and help us. I can't do this alone. And I mean, I'm willing to do a lot of the work, but I got to have more people that are willing to jump on and not only put this stuff out there, but every single one of you out there, if you can post this stuff that I put out there, it's in my Telegram channel, because that's where I have the most viewers and such. But if you can post this stuff, take it and put it on X. I've got my X channels out there, but repost, because this is never going to make it in the mainstream media. I can guarantee you that. They do not want this stuff out there. So guess what? You are the news. And if you want to take the country back, instead of dinking around with all the stuff that doesn't matter, we've got to have the power of the pen has got to overcome this. Otherwise, we're going to get into a civil war. You want to keep us out of a civil war and a fight? You need to get in the game here with this. And I put my name out there and my number. Call if you want to get into working into these resolutions and potentially more lawsuits with us or with me. The lawsuits are an individual effort from down in Brandenburg, but the resolutions are also going to be an official capacity to condemn these people that are in office and tell them what they have to do. So we have 5 resolutions we're working on right now. I wrote the beginning draft, and Bill Moore got in here and worked on it. But I'm gonna put this one out there too. I can read it if you want to hear this. But we need some more people that are willing to jump on these and change them. I have a meeting that I'm going to do as like a Zoom meeting on. It was a free conference call meeting on Thursday night at 8:00. If you would like to join that, I would like you to send me an email, and I'll put the email out there. But or text me. Don't call me. Text me and send me a text that says that I would like to be included in this. And the text number would be 616-430-4410. If you want to be involved and you want to get in the game to help with these resolutions for the Taxpayers Party and actually want to jump on a team and help us, we're getting the ball rolling, and we've got a bunch of these that I've got in the queue, because I'm the chairman of the resolutions committee also, that we need people that are willing to take these, put law into this, and run forward with this, okay? And help do some work within the party, because there's not enough hands to do the work. But this is a great venue, and a third party is a wonderful disruptor that holds the other ones accountable, okay? So anyhow, this is one that I wrote for resolution to repealing the red flag laws. Bill jumped into this one and reworked it, and as a committee, we've been working on this. And I'll read it to you if you can't read. I understand there are some people out there. Whereas the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States protects the unalienable and natural right of the people to keep and bear arms, guaranteed to us by our Creator, and this right is necessary to the security of a free state, specifically as a protection against a tyrannical government, which has established a pattern of direct attack against its own people. Whereas the Second Amendment is not subject to any qualifiers or alterations, and it shall not be infringed. Whereas Thomas Jefferson defined the infringement for us in the Statute on Virginia's Religious Freedom in 1786 as to repeal or narrow the operation of natural right. Whereas red flag laws infringe upon the natural rights of the individual to keep and bear arms, defend themselves and of their state, Michigan Constitution, Article 1, Section 6. Whereas red flag laws have and will be used to harass and intimidate law-abiding citizens, which result in the violation of the Second Amendment rights. Whereas those involved in initiating red flag laws and violating the rights of citizens are currently not held accountable for their actions. Whereas the unwarranted seizure of firearms and any other property is a violation of the natural rights of, or the right of the people protected by the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. Whereas any law to repeal the right of the people to keep and bear arms would be nothing more than pretended legislation, and every enforcement of them would be pretended crime. Declaration of Independence. Now, therefore, it be resolved that all red flag laws be repealed immediately. Be it further resolved that the right to defend oneself, one's property, and one's family against any threat, foreign or domestic, is a fundamental right that shall be upheld and protected. Be it further resolved that those who have been involved in initiated red flag laws, harassing citizens and violating the right of any individual citizen of the United States of America to bear arms shall be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And be it finally resolved that copies of this resolution be transmitted to the governor of the state of Michigan, members of the Michigan legislature, and other relevant officials to express the U.S. Taxpayers Party of Michigan's opposition to the extreme risk protection laws according to the protections of the Constitution. So we're working on this, and this will be, I am hoping that this will be accepted on Saturday. The meeting to rework this one more time is going to be coming up on Thursday night. And I would encourage anyone to jump on this Zoom call. If you reach out to me, we will include you in the conversation, and you will be able to have a say on this as far as how to best address the situation. Now, another one that we're going to put out there that I want to read through that I believe is significant is this one is going to be real fun, because, and this is going to be where we have nullification of 2022. We have coming up, or that we're working on, that will be accepted Saturday based on the fact that we're going to vote on it. I believe they will be actually accepted. We have one for that. We have 5 different ones that we're working on, but this one has also been through the draft process and has been redlined for change. This is the one that was written by me, and it was amended by the resolutions committee, and this one was headed up by Mark Sensenowski. So whereas the 14th Amendment of the Constitution requires equal protection of the laws to any person while not abridging the privilege of citizens, the United States has a duty and obligation to prioritize the direct interests as well as and well-being of its citizens ahead of non-citizens. And whereas the allocation of resources to non-citizens, such as payments for housing, medical care, education, food subsidies, are in violation of this duty. And there's going to be a clause in there that says not limited to these issues. And whereas, so that they can't receive payments for anything. that basically any type of payments. And whereas this usurpation of authority to make such provisions is an unconstitutional act, which is not a law, it confers no rights and imposes no duties, it affords no protection, it creates no office, it is in legal contemplation as inoperative as though it had never been passed. Norton versus Shelby County 118 U.S. 425 in 1886, and is thus a clear violation of their oath of office. And whereas we the people have the right to transparency in the allocation of our tax dollars and accountability to guard against corruption. Therefore, be it resolved that the United States shall immediately cease all payments and support to non-citizens for the purposes of housing, medical care, education, and food subsidies. It's going to be not limited to those. Be it further resolved that a full report shall be provided to the American citizenry detailing the exact amount of money being paid to non-citizens, as well as the departments and agencies involved in funding these payments, with accountability demanded upon the individual public functionaries who are in violation of the oath of office. Be it further resolved that the United States shall prioritize the needs and well-being of its citizens and ensure that resources are allocated in a manner that is consistent with the duty and obligation to protect and serve the direct interests of the American people. This resolution is intended to provide a starting point. So this is where we're in our draft thing. But the last statement will be upon prosecution of those that refuse to immediately terminate those activities of funding through NGOs and other means to fund the invasion of the United States of America, because it's an invasion. And
very good. Both of them are very good.
Thank you. The other resolutions are the elimination of corrupt voting systems, nullification of the 2020 election, and the resolution to protect the United States border. And I have 15 more in my queue, at least, that is in the queue for us to address through resolutions. We have all of the emails of everyone this needs to go to be launched forward. And now I need everyone out there who is, in fact, an American, not a Republican, not a Democrat, but an actual American, to jump on this and help us get this out there to the citizenry. I am going to charge every single person who claims to be an American to be part of this task force to get this out to every last American out there that is willing to stand with this nation. Republican, Democrat, organizations, I don't care. Anyone who's willing to stand with the United States of America needs to get this lawsuit out and the resolutions that we are in fact working on, which will be in their final form by this Saturday. If you want to be included in the process, you need to text me at 616-430-4410. Identify yourself. Jump on the call on Thursday night. There we go. 8:00 Thursday night. And if you don't get in the process of writing these resolutions or putting your input in, and you know something that you haven't brought forward, the bad's on you, because we're out there trying to do what we can do, and we need some more help. So what say you, John? How are you doing?
Doing great. Doing good. Somebody's stepping up and doing something, which is wonderful.
Well, I tell you, when I didn't even really, it was just like the lawsuit. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, okay, I guess I better jump in there and get it figured out, because nobody else is doing this, right? It's like we do not have anybody else that's jumping forward. The political parties are sitting there running around and chasing their tail on stupid stuff that is not moving the bar on anything. It's a coffee club of bitchers, and that's all it is. Or they're talking about what's wrong or what needs to be fixed, but nobody's doing the work. And so that's what we're doing. We're going to go forward and we're going to do the work on this. But
here's a fact and point. Kamala is not capable of becoming the president. She's not capable of being vice president because she's not a natural born citizen. She is, if she is anything, she's naturalized, which is not the same. You have to be a natural born citizen to be president of the United States. That's in the federal Constitution. Where are the Republicans in this action? Why are they not raising this information right now? Why are they not complaining?
Because they're all working together.
Exactly. Well, we know the Democrats are doing this. We know the Democrats lied about Obama, Obama is not a natural born citizen either, and yet he was the president. And when a couple of states filed lawsuits against them, they were shut down because the public, the fake media passed it off. The fake court systems passed it off. The fake legislature and the fake parties passed it off. And we ended up with Obama in that position, which he was never allowed to be in by the federal Constitution. And now we have this moron, Kamala, running for presidency, and she's not qualified. Well, and where are the Republicans? They're not doing anything about it.
They're not saying a thing about breaking the law. That's the thing that's really got me. It's all about who they're allowing in their little coffee clutch there, who's going to take which positions, and they're all the same. That's sorry. Right. I'm so sorry to tell you that, guys, but you know what? It is what it is. That sucks to listen to the truth, but there's the truth right there. I cannot believe that anybody would vote for this. Hang on.
It's refreshing to hear the truth. It's refreshing to hear somebody like
they're all in bed together
and talking. It's refreshing not to listen to a politician telling us a whole bunch of lies, which is what we've been fed all of these years by the fake media and the fake government and the fake court systems and the fake legislature and the fake judicial system. It's refreshing to hear the truth. So the people that are still, I don't know what you call it, brain dead, that don't get it, I feel sorry for you, because we are losing this country, or we could lose this country. We're not losing this country. We could lose this country if we allowed this to continue. So
I think we already lost it.
No, I don't.
I think we're fighting. Well, I think we're fighting back.
Yeah, well, we are fighting back, but we haven't lost the country. We haven't given in. We haven't thrown our towels in, and they don't have our guns, and they're not going to get them.
Okay, this is what we're going to deal with if Kamala Harris gets in office, who is unqualified, besides another criminal activity by our government. I'm just going to play this here. Here, let me put it up. It's too annoying not to put up. Okay, we're gonna do Kamala the hyena. Here we go, boys and girls. Here's Kamala the rat to look forward to.
The Russians are taking over.
I think I should leave this on for 2 minutes as it goes, just to like slam dunk it in people's minds. Yeah.
He knows how to sell right there. Okay.
And look at these hosts that are hosting. They're as crazy as cool.
Got a sense of humor. Right?
The border is secure. You could say everything to this. And that's what she does. She laughs about it.
That is like 1 minute of a 2 minute compilation. I think you could do a 6 hour compilation of a laughing hyena out there. Are you kidding me?
That's right. That's right. And
Crazy.
What is our Republican Party doing about it? They're changing
Nothing.
over to be Democrats. as Cheney did, and she decided she's a Democrat, and all of her staff decides they're Democrats. So what do we got here, folks? Wake up, wake up, wake up. We need these resolutions forward. We need to get rid of the parties. We need to vote for the individual and not the party. The parties, both Democrats and Republicans, are as corrupt as they could possibly be. It's a uniparty system, as everybody's heard, and they're not in favor of America. They're all against. They're trying to destroy this country so they can become the one world government.
Yep, there you go. And and it's quite honestly, I think everybody needs to take a good look at the people who are around them in the groups that they're in, because I'm going to tell you what, they're funding both sides, and people feel really safe in the grassroots groups. You should not,
That's right.
because they're just a smaller representation of the Republican Party. They all have interests. They're all being funded by somebody. Who's paying these people to be full-time active in what they're doing? There's no way. I listened to somebody that said that they were involved in something. They're doing this all by donations. Right, sure they are. Nobody's donating anything on a personal basis. They're not doing it. How many people do you know that actually donates to political causes? One or two, maybe, but the rest of the people are so sick of this nonsense. They hate everything to do with politics. I don't blame them. I hate politics. I just want my country fixed, right? But there, and it's like, keep your eyes open. You will see them. And I should write a profile on what a political activist looks like. Are they having fear? Is it constantly fear porn, fear pandering? If it is, you got a problem, because that's what they're there for. Are they disruptive? Are they trying to set up teams? Or are they trying to welcome people in? Or are they setting up teams within organizations? You got a problem. And are they inviting in other organizations in, and are they taking part in other people's stuff, or are they just, are they trying to help other people, or is it just their own little pet issue? If it is, you got a problem.
I'm going to throw one more out for you. The libertarians, they're no better than the Democrats and Republicans.
I absolutely agree with you. When I saw what they did by hijacking that for the trans nonsense, I'm like, how can anybody out there look at this and take them seriously at all at this point in time? This has nothing to do with running the country. It's throwing your sexuality out there. I don't care. Do you go into a bank? Here's a question. Do you go into a bank and ask everybody at the bank who's managing your financial assets, well, what's your sexual orientation?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm not going to deal with you unless you think the way I do. That is the stupidest metric. I can't even believe that it's even brought up in this arena. You don't go into places and say, do you go, when you go buy a car, do you go into the car and say, my number one thing is I want to know what their sexual orientation is?
That's right. Yep. What would you like your pronoun to be?
Yeah. It's like, what's the pronoun you use? Or go in there and say, see to see what your pronoun is, because that's a guarantee you're going to get a good car.
Yeah.
It's the most stupidest. It is the most stupidest metric for any evaluation I see. I don't care what somebody's sexual orientation is. I just really don't care. It's like, I don't want to look at your personal bits. I don't want to know about your personal bits. I have no interest in that whatsoever. It is not interesting to me whatsoever. You take your little personal bits and you do with your personal bits what you think you need to do, but I don't want to hear about it. Unless they're grooming, and that has nothing to do with grooming kids. It's a separate issue. Grooming kids is an absolutely separate issue from personal bits. I don't know. It's just gotten so out of control. It's not even funny. But anyhow, the things that you should look at. What are the things that you would look at for choosing someone who was seriously interested in running the country, John? Tell me what it would be. What's your list? Qualifiers.
It's kind of long, but and probably we're not going to have the time for that today because your guest is coming on and I got to run. But
Well, give me the top three because they're not quite set here.
somebody that's not part of the system, such as President Trump. He's not an insider. He's an outsider. I want people outside the system running because they have their head a little clearer than those that are being paid off, being bribed, or being blackmailed. They have a clear head, and that's why they're there. So people that have been in office, get them out. I don't think anybody that's been in office more than 2 terms should stay there. They should be gone. Anywhere they want to do, but back to the private sector. If they haven't been in the private sector, such as Biden has never been in the private sector, how does he know what my problems are? He's never been there. He's been taking graft and corruption all of his life. He's been living on the high life. He's had his own medical problem. I mean, his own medical insurance. That's not part of the same medical. He's got his own retirement program. That's not the same as our retirement program. He's living as a king, and we're living as his serfs.
And he's a kid sniffer.
Well, that's all that stuff that he's doing that's illegal.
I'm like,
that's immoral, and he's immoral in every aspect you could possibly do. This is Biden. What is Kamala all about? We know she slept her way up to the top. So,
you know what? I hate to say this, but I'm going to tell you what. Right now, if I were around him, I don't care if he's president of the United States. If he had grabbed one of my kids and started sniffing one of my kids, I can guarantee you his sorry ass would have hit the ground. And I'm like, that's the truth. You know, it's like I'm glad my children are big enough to take care of themselves and seriously tough enough. But at any rate, I just said it. So, John, you want to give everybody a way to get to you here to listen to your...
We're going to be on Zoom on Wednesday, this Wednesday coming up. We're going to be at Nicola's on the 25th, which is a couple of weeks from now. But we're going to be on Zoom on Wednesday. And if you want to get a hold of me or you want to get an invite, you can call me at 734-968-4715.
And that's the way you get it done, people.
Don't be concerned about bothering me. If you want to become part of our group, I'd love to hear from you. You want to talk to me, call me. If you want to text me, that's good too, whichever you do. Or go on my email site, which is jtater2@yahoo.com. And I'll send you an invite on Wednesday.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Tater. And you have a great day today. And I just got to say, thank you for everything you're doing for us. Thank you for taking the time to educate me and to help me get out of my comfort zone to try these new things that I'd never done before. You know, and it really does take people who have walked the path before to teach us how to do that and to give them the courage. It's like anything else. You walk alongside somebody, give them the courage to do it themselves, and hopefully launch them like a baby bird, to fly on their own, and then fly back to the nest once in a while to make sure that we're doing things right. But I just got to tell you, thank you so much. I so respect you.
You're welcome. Isn't it refreshing to step outside the eggshell?
Yes.
And have courage and be strong and not worry about the fear that's out there. Isn't it great to be open to all the possibilities that you have available to you from now?
It's actually having an advanced toolkit in order to hold them accountable and go after them. And this one pro se case that, I just provided today, I will put it on my Telegram channel today as well as X. And, and I'm asking everybody to get this out there because nobody else is reposting that's in the fake stream media. Fake stream media doesn't want this out there because they're the lap dogs of these people. They're bootlicking lap dogs in fake stream media. Of course, they're not going to show it to anybody. They want everybody in the dark. But you know what? If we put our heads together, we can do amazing things. And we can do this. We can retool the United States and have the benefit go back to we people. We can do this.
You've sent it to me. I will send it out to everybody on my email list this week.
Thanks, John.
Everybody in my group or that I've got an email of will get a chance to see it.
And I'd like you to ask all of them to jump in here with us with the Constitution Party and help us, because we have to have another option rather than, and I really believe we should abolish all political parties. But in order to do that within what we've got right now, we have to use what we have to abolish them all. Yep. And that's the truth. They are all compromised. And I think that the ultimate goal, you use the tools you have in front of you, but the ultimate goal is we got to get rid of them and go back to the individuals instead of a cult, because they function as a cult. Yep. So, all right, my friend, have a great day. And we will see
everybody out there have a great day.
And we'll see you Thursday at 8.
I will be there.
Awesome. I knew you would let me down. Well, I knew you would let me down, buddy. All right, we'll be right back in the second hour of Brandenburg News Network with Real History and Courtenay Turner. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 10th day of September 2024. And here we are with Real News with Courtenay Turner. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. You look lovely today. It's a great color.
Thank you.
That's fun. Yeah, it's a nice blue. So what's happening in Courtenay land?
We are crazy busy here. I'm leaving this weekend. I'm speaking at MAGA Fest in New Orleans. And then next weekend, I'm speaking in East Tennessee for the Tennessee Constitutional group. And then, so I have 2 shows today after this. So 3. Yeah.
We're busy.
Yes. So we just did our Cognitive Liberty Conference.
Yeah. So, well, that's really cool. So what are we going to talk about today, my friend?
I don't know. I didn't have anything super planned because it's been crazy. I'm also planning my wedding. So yeah, it's been super crazy over here. But today is supposed to be the beginning of Cyber Polygon.
Today's what?
It's supposed to be the beginning of Cyber Polygon.
Okay, I'm lost. What is that?
Cyber Polygon is so in 2020, Klaus Schwab had announced that we pay insufficient attention, but we all know about I'm paraphrasing and I can't do a German accent, but that essentially that
I can. You got to start out with a mustache.
Yes,
the Hitler mustache.
I'll work on that. But he was saying that we have the potential for a cyber pandemic, is what they call it, where there might be a big cyber outage. And so they did in 2021 was the first where they did this a simulation. Essentially they war game all of these potential attacks, and they did it for the first time in 2021. And then they were supposed to do it last year, but because of the situation in Ukraine, they didn't. And so now they're doing it starting today, I believe at 12. It starts at 24 hours. So I think it's very interesting, the timing, because there's supposed to be a debate tonight. And then there's also 9/11 tomorrow. And so this is supposed to be done, September 10th through the 11th. And it's about 40 companies. You can go to the website, Cyber Polygon.
Now you got me interested.
They don't list all of them. Yeah, I did 2 shows. I did one yesterday, and I have a radio show airing today on the topic. They don't list all of the companies, but all of the companies that are involved that they have on their website, and they say that there are 40, so they don't have them all there, are either Russian or from the Middle East. And it's Bizone is the company that it was created in order to do this Cyber Polygon training exercise. And it's a subsidiary of Sberbank, which is a Russian bank. And it's also in partnership. So they're doing it both virtually online as well as in person with MENA ISC. And MENA, I believe the convention is located in Riyadh, which is also interesting. And so let me see if I can pull up that. This is the plot that they game out. They say a well-known, this is, how they're going to war game. So that logo I thought was very interesting. Grupos Oris, that one. With
that's real. Well, they're all kind of interesting. I'm going to go.
A lot of them are. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. Yeah, so I'll read you this plot. It's a well-known startup that develops an innovative solution powered by AI. The release of the product is a success, and the company signs multi-million-dollar contract. Let me see if I can zoom this.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Tajikistan.
Yeah, they're all, as I said, they're all either in Russia or in the Middle East.
Hey, I'm going to tell you what, when Stan is involved in it, I'm always curious.
What?
When Stan is involved, I'm always curious.
Yeah, exactly.
Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, all the stands.
So I'll read you the scenario, like what they're going to game out, and then we can go through some of these companies. But they're all supposedly cybersecurity companies in either Russia or the Middle East. So it's a well-known startup that develops an innovative solution powered by AI. And then they say that the release of the product is a success, and the company signs multi-million-dollar contract. Then they say the AI model starts degrading at the same time that a competitor announces the development of a similar product, but at a lower price. This all can lead to the collapse of the company. The company management begins to suspect that the developments were stolen through a breach of the internal infrastructure. Well, while the intellectual property experts examine the competitor's solution, the company invites a team of forensic specialists, which the participants are part of. Sorry, we just did a new setup. I'm having trouble reading everything so small. But yeah, we moved from the other room, so we're in here now. But we have not finalized the setup because this is way too small for me. But yeah, so that's the scenario that they're setting up. And it's all centered around AI. And then this is supposed to be today and tomorrow. And then, those are all the companies that were involved that you were scrolling through. So this is, I thought this was very interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, MENA ISC, which is the conference that's hosting it, was created in 2010. And I think that's also very interesting because 2010 is when that document, it was the scenarios from a technological future, the one that was in partnership with the Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It was Rockefeller's and Johns Hopkins. And that was the one that Operation Lockstep was page 16 to 26 of that document. But in that document, so typically the futurists, when they do these documents, they have a quadrant. So it's usually 4 scenarios that they war game. And a lot of people remember Operation Lockstep because they claim that that's what COVID was. But really, if you look at the other 3, there are elements of all of them that were, utilize. And one of them was like a cyber polygon where there would be, I think it was called Hack Attack.
Oh, hack
Where
attack.
there'd be like this, computer outage type of scenario.
There was something that came up when I brought that last tab up.
Mhm.
And let me see if I can go back to it, that I thought was pretty interesting.
Mm.
It showed on the search. Here we go. Hacker Noon. And, it's really interesting when you do a search on that sort of thing to see what other things are out there,
Mm-hmm. Right.
Another, there's the pandemic simulation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's the MENISC. Let's see what they have here. So, wow. It's a global online training event. And, don't you love it when people say it's a global thing? Like it makes them really all that in a bag of chips.
Yeah.
It's globally aware. We're global people. We're global citizens.
Well, it's in partnership with the World Economic Forum. That's what the global stuff is all about. I'm sure you've heard Klaus Schwab talk about it.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
you hear other people that just parrot that everything's global, like it makes them all that in a bag of chips. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. Okay, so you're global.
I don't think that's what they're thinking. I think this is it's a messaging. They believe in creating the global citizen. This is what our whole entire education system has been designed to do, is to indoctrinate this concept of a global citizen. And this was, very clearly laid out by Robert Mueller in the World Core Curriculum. And this is this is what Charlotte Iserbyt blew the whistle on back in the 80s. So this has been around for a very long time, but now people have been through, now we've had a few generations of this programming. And the purpose is to create global citizens because they want to eradicate nation states. So, yeah. So
I guess that's what I'm saying, is that when I hear people parroting that out in the world, you see people in business or whatever, and they think that's going to make them a big squeak to be in the global thing. And it just makes them, to those of us who kind of look at that and go, yeah, we know where this is coming from. It just makes them look really supremely brainwashed.
Yeah.
And fairly stupid at that point too, because usually that's followed with democracy. We're globalist, but we're in democracy. And you're like, no. You're pretty much, I'm extra sure you're brainwashed, but that's,
Yeah, for sure.
Well, what else? Where else do we want to go with this MENA thing? And in that, what else can we look up to show people?
Yeah, let's see.
As we court Klaus Schwab.
Klaus Schwab, yeah. Let's see if I can find all my stuff. Sorry, this new setup is really throwing me off.
What's really funny is people always ask, well, what's the list of things you can't talk about when you get on Brandenburg show? And it's like, list? There's no list. We show up this morning. Well, what do you want to talk about today, Courtney? What's on your mind?
I see. I'm looking through. Oh, the other thing was that it's funded. So the what's it called, the company Bizone that was created specifically to do this cyber polygon, that's a subsidiary of this Russian bank, is also funded in partnership with Interpol. And I thought that was very interesting.
Bizone software development. Is it Bizone software development?
Yeah.
Oh, they've got a nice little globe on their thing too. We got to make sure we tell everybody we're globally aware. We're all.
Most of the companies have globes. Oh, if not, they have a circle.
You know which other one has a globe?
Which one?
Oh, this is interesting. Medical. Oh, we're into manufacture. We're into medical. We're into testing and quality assurance, which is regulatory stuff. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll show you the other one that I have concerns about. Hang on, let me pull it up, because we've got a bunch of minions that want to. Oh my goodness, check this out. All you gotta do is look a little bit, and you'll find the globes here. Hang on, let me find one. Watch them like prove me wrong. No, I'm right on this. It's just that I have to find the because there's ads out for this. Amway Global. We've got Amway Global here in the seat of Satan in Grand Rapids. Here, you're on a global site. See, now we're all globalists. We can all be. You can too. Can be a globalist who goes into China. We can all be globalists.
Well, while you're looking that up, I'll tell you a little bit about the financing. This is like right off of Wikipedia. But the financing for Interpol in 2019 alone, their income was 142 million euro, which is like $155 million, of which 41% were statutory contributions by member country, 35% were voluntary cash contributions, and 24% were in-kind contributions for the use of equipment, services, and buildings, with the goal of enhancing the collaboration between Interpol and the private sector to support Interpol's mission. The Interpol Foundation for a Safer World was created in 2013. Although legally independent of Interpol, the relationship between the two is close enough for Interpol's president to obtain in 2015 the departure of HSBC, the CEO from the foundation board, after the Swiss leaks allegations. And it's the headquarters are in Lyons, France. But that's a lot of money, 155 million just in 1 year in 2019. So,
Well,
the other MENA ISC also says one of their primary initiatives is public-private partnerships.
Don't you hate that term? That's another one that's sort of like every time I hear that, it's like, oh, now that's a globalist term. We're going to do public-private partnerships, as the United States functions exactly the same way as the CCP, you know, because they think they own your business. And they're going to tell you what to do through regulation. And if you don't comply with them, you go out of business. I don't know if people really have their arms around that the CCP claims ownership over all businesses. Well, the United States claims ownership over all property. They really do. If you have to pay taxes, property taxes, you are only a leaseholder. And if they can take away your business because you haven't complied with their regulations, then you don't own that business.
Right.
That is absolutely commandeering the economic and a sector of this nation. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to touch it.
But the purpose of public-private partnerships is to subordinate nation states. And a really good example of that would be COVID, right? So it didn't matter if you lived in rural New York or if you lived in New York City. Like if you went into a big box, chain store like Target or Walmart, you were subject to whatever policies the corporation had. So it overrides. And that's really the purpose of these public-private partnerships, is to create these supranational entities so that the nation states don't have the purview anymore. You're now subordinate to these supranational entities. So it's kind of supposed to be like a transitory infrastructure for transitioning out of nation states into power blocks.
Yeah. Did you see, do you remember the first time that you saw cameras, like say when you walked into a big box store, because they had everything all shut down, right. but they were going to keep us safe by walking through one door into these big box stores.
Right.
When you walk in and you're like, there's like cameras with big screen TVs recording you as you go in the door, to the big box stores. That was all over the place, and did you little children have your masks on as we take away your voice?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what that was all about. There was if you go to the My Carbon document on the World Economic Forum, if you scroll down on that, they talk about how COVID-19 was like a test of social responsibility.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find that.
Right. it's got inclusion in it because we got to make sure everybody's in the, inclusion mentality here. An approach for inclusive and sustainable cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you scroll down, they talk about how COVID-19 was a test of social responsibility.
Oh, man. Personal carbon allowance programs, an example of that. As they're flying all over the planet on their own personal jets, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We can't do that because we're nothing but just feeders, useless feeders.
Well, if you can afford to buy enough carbon offshoots, then you can do that.
Well, isn't that what Elon Musk did? He made his money on carbon credits.
Yes.
He didn't do it on innovation. He just did the carbon. I got some concerns there. I'm just going to say that. Large concerns, not the popular thing to say, but, about Elon Musk.
Every company he has is building the fourth industrial revolution.
It is, and it's a little concerning because he made his first money off of carbon credits. I mean, that's how he got funded for it. He's only made money off of things that the taxpayer dollars pay for.
Yes, SpaceX is funded by NASA. Then the military industrial complex. He's building the Hive Borg mind with the Starlink and the Skynet. He's got the CureVac, which is all invested in mRNA vaccines. His Boring company wants to fund the Hadron Collider for CERN to recreate the Big Bang. They also are involved in doing the vertical farming with plants for mRNA technology. He, of course, X, which is all of his company symbols, is where God merges with man merges with machine, which for them is God, the transhuman vision. Then
his mom was a Satanist too. I mean, there's lots of pictures of her out there.
Yeah. So, his grandfather was the president of Technocracy Inc. at Columbia University. Yeah.
Know that.
And he said he wants to make Twitter like WeChat, but better for the West. And I don't know what other companies he has. Obviously Tesla, the green energy and the cars and the batteries that are frying everybody.
Yeah, and the mobile surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
It's that those things are like mobile surveillance that they're tapping into. I'm going to tell you what, no matter who's got one, they're surveilling everything. Because they've got cameras all the way around them. But that was a beautiful deployment of surveillance on the United States in the Tesla.
Totally.
And it's like I'm just kind of amazed that nobody questions this stuff. Doesn't it blow your mind, Courtney, that nobody questions what they're seeing?
Well, I think a lot of people do. But the propaganda.
Nobody, but the vast majority of people are not questioning what they're seeing. And you got a mobile surveillance thing going past every time you go back past a Tesla.
Right.
And they've got all of the facial recognition and everything else. Mm-hmm. And the man is just great at using our money, to build these great things. He didn't make them. He's using our money to fund them. And it's like, are you kidding me? Wow. Okay, so here, let's go back to COVID here. So the COVID thing, new business models. Okay, of course they are, because it's called steal everything for them.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Can I let you look through that for just 1 minute? I'll be right back. I just need to run to the bathroom.
Yeah, no worries. Fourth Industrial Revolution technology breakthroughs, advances in emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, and digitization can enable tracking personal carbon emissions, raise awareness, and also provide individual advisories on lower carbon and ethical choices for consumption of products and services. Oh, so they're going to tell us what to do. The World Economic Forum's Scale 360 initiative demonstrates the use of Fourth Industrial Revolution technologies across the whole life cycle of products and services. There have been major advances in smart home technologies, transportation choices with carbon implications, and rollout of smart metals or smart meters in providing individual choices to reduce energy-related emissions, the development of new personal apps to account for personal emissions. And this is crazy. The like apps to record your personal emissions. I'm like, what are they doing? Like following you in the bathroom or something? And it can also strengthen, because I mean, we all know they've gone after cow farts. I mean, this is crazy. AI can help strengthen circular economy business models like productive service models, demand predictions, and smart asset management by combining real-time and historical data from product users. Includes food and transportation and home and lifestyle choices. Raise awareness for ownership of nature and the environment, because you know what? They own it all. You want to know how they're doing it? It's like the DNR in the state of Michigan. The DNR is in charge of, get this, people, 4.6 million acres in the state of Michigan. And they claim all mineral and logging rights. And guess who does this? Does the security for it? DK Security. Guess who DK works for?
Who?
Founders of Amway. And guess what they also do? I found that they've got 36 satellite offices all across the United States of America in really strange locations. Like ones that I would look at and go, why would you have a location out in the middle of the woods, miles away from anything, but back up to a canyon and a river and ways to get out of there without being seen?
That's strange.
Makes me wonder about what's happening with the kids in those areas. Quite honestly, that goes, it just makes me wonder, because, they're going to do anything that's involved with children. They're going to go where nobody will ask a question. How long did it take us to get wise to the people in the different religions that are pedophiles? The Catholic priest pedophiles and some of the other things that have gone on. I'm not damning the whole of the religions of Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, but I'm going to say that the people that are going to do bad things are going to infiltrate those areas because nobody dares to step out and question them. And then they'll make a victim status out of the people so that they sit there and go, oh, we're victims. Nobody likes us. We're Christians. We're Jews. We're Muslims. And now we can't question it because we're going to hurt somebody's feelings. And they're protecting the ones that have infiltrated.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on for sure. Tons
and tons. Yeah, I say I'm probably on the, ADL website is one of the top, and it's probably for the Muslims, probably the Christians too. I beat up on everybody equally.
Well, I think so. With all of this stuff with Cyber Polygon, I think it's very interesting because next week they're doing the Summit of the Future.
Okay.
So pretty interesting timing. So the UN is having their meeting in New York City, the Summit of the Future, and this is where they're voting on their Global Digital Compact.
Okay.
So the Global Digital Compact, so Guterres has talked about how he's very concerned about the misinformation and hate speech and whatnot on the internet. And so this is an attempt to protect the shared digital future, which is what Klaus Schwab called, the internet space. And this is going to be, they're voting on this September 22nd, 24th through the 24th.
Wow.
New York City. Yeah, Global Digital Compact.
This is so crazy. It's once again centralization to the control of what we can say or what we can disseminate and distribute that we want to say. It has to go past their little evil scientist pause to make sure that we fall in line with their Marxist ideology and a Satanist control of the globe.
Yeah, and so the Global Digital Compact, so this is in September that they're voting on it, and they've also they proposed, I don't think it's gone through yet, but they're proposing, and I don't know if they will because the number 17 is very sacred to them, but they're proposing an 18th goal, Sustainable Development Goal, and this goal is for responsible communication. So essentially censorship, but they're talking about it and it's in conjunction with it's a PR firm, like a global PR firm, that they're talking about officially merging with the UN. Right now they work with the UN, but they're working on making an official partnership. The 18th Sustainable Development Goal.
I'm trying
This
to
is
let's see, 18th is, yeah, they have that down here. Hang on a minute. This one? 17%. There's a 17. I like the number 17. But
right. They'd love the number 17, but they're proposing
I didn't know
an
that.
18. Yeah, 17 is very sacred to them.
Didn't even know that. So here's download the report.
For
Sustainable Development Goals Report 2024.
yeah, but they're proposing one for the 18th goal, and this is on. It used to be on space development, but they've changed it. Now they're talking about responsible communication. Let's see if I can pull it up. I did a whole show on it. I did a show on that and the unwritten, like unofficial goal of 0, and that one's joy. So, like the Kamala Harris campaign right now, they're doing the campaign of joy.
Yeah, that's all kinds of weird.
Well, it's from the Nazi campaign, Strength Through Joy, which was all about, it was appealing to like hedonistic kind of pleasure principles. It was all about vacations and cruises and a lot of propaganda around like pleasure.
And look at the nonsense they did at the Olympics in France.
Mm-hmm.
That was just, the whole thing was just crazy.
With joy or with you're just talking about
excesses and pleasure.
Oh, yeah. The Dionysius. Can you
put the link in the private chat, and then I'll just click on that, and then
I'm looking for it. Proposal for responsible communication. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, I think this is it. The case for a new SDG, the 18th, address communication gaps in the current SDGs. While communication is a key component of many SDGs, especially SDG 4, quality in education, and 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, there is no dedicated goal that comprehensively addresses its role in sustainable development. A new SDG on responsible communication would provide a focused framework for action, ensuring that communication is leveraged to support all SDGs. But I'm not seeing where I did have it. Okay, this is it. Under the Global Alliance PR.org. That's the organization that's proposing to partner with the UN. They work with the UN, but now they're proposing an official partnership.
Global Alliance, what was it?
Global Alliance PR.org. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this was July 2024. July 24th, 2024.
Okay. Oh, there's another one. Oh.
Yeah, and so the president addresses United Nations supporting global calls for responsible communication at the new 18th Sustainable Development Goal. On July 24, 2024, Professor Justin Green, President and CEO of the Global Alliance for Public Relations and Communication Management, addressed the United Nations supporting the global calls for responsible communication as the new 18th Sustainable Development Goal. The meeting included Melissa Fleming, Undersecretary General for Global Communications of the United Nations, along with Maher Nasser, Director of the Outreach Division of the United Nations, Rob Skinner, Deputy Director of the Outreach Division of the United Nations, Katerina Kitty, Special Assistant to the USG of the United Nations. The Global Alliance delegation accompanying Justin Green included Philip T. Bonaventura, Treasurer of the Global Alliance, Bonnie Caber, Board Member of the Global Alliance, Mateus Ferlanetto, Chief Administrator Administrative Officer of the Global Alliance, and Linda Thomas Brooks, Chief Executive Officer of PRSA, Public Relations Society of America. In addition to advocating for the 18th Sustainable Development Goal, Green also presented a proposal. This is the partnership between the Global Alliance and the UN, reinforced the invitation for Melissa Fleming to be the keynote speaker of the WPRF 2024 in Bali. The meeting also explored the possibilities for mutual collaboration between the Global Alliance and the United Nations. You can read full document, and they have it below.
Which one of the articles was that? I'm going to assume that it's...
So it was, if you just type in the Global Alliance PR.org, that's what comes up at the very top.
Okay. That's what it is. So here's their... I'll assume it's this one.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. That's it.
They had all these articles, so there you go.
There you go.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
Yeah.
So many twists and turns with all of these organizations. You know, it's just like you can't even keep up with it. How many of them pop up and they disappear and they merge, and they've got actors that are working in collaboration with each other from different organizations. It's unbelievable.
Well, the Summit of the Future has been in the works for a very long time, and that is coming up right away. That's when they're voting on a lot of these things. It's based on their plans for our common future. They have something called our common agenda, and this is all for the 75th anniversary of the UN. And the major goal is for them to get back on track for 2030. So they claim that they're behind schedule, and they say that it's actually the United States that's really holding them back. So that's encouraging. But
that's I kind of like that. So the United States is holding them up.
Yeah, they've said that
many red, white, and blue. That's awesome.
Yep. And they've said that many times. So this is what the Summit of the Future is really about, is getting them back on track. Because they said they are behind and they want to get back on schedule for Agenda 2030, get all of Agenda 2030 met. And of course, most of that is aimed at, because 2045 is their AI world society. So they have to get Agenda 2030 underway so they can move on with that.
The strategic planning, albeit evil, is inspiring. I wish patriots could get together under this sort of a plan instead of fighting with each other and follow a strategic plan to take them.
Well, they're so effective at splintering with their operations. Have you heard about the Tenet Media scandal?
No. So what is it?
Tenet Media. So Tenet Media it's actually based in Tennessee. Lauren Chen is the founder of Tenet Media. She happens to be Canadian. I find it very interesting that a lot of these people who push very anti-American propaganda are not Americans, but I think that's worth noting. But she's so she manages through this Tenet Media people like Benny Johnson, Tim Pool. I think Lauren Southern is in this. Dave Rubin. So a lot of very prominent, quote unquote, right wing media figures. And they were, so there was a big indictment from the DOJ claiming that she was getting $10 million from RT. So I think this was a very, very clever op. There's a lot of ops going on right now, and a lot of them seem so transparent to me. I don't know how people are falling for them, but this one I think was brilliant. I'm not in favor of it. I'm not saying that, to be complimentary, but I do think it was really brilliant because it's so multi-layered. There's so many different angles that they're hitting with this. And this is, so of course the kind of more surface, more obvious is this looks like Russia hoax 3.0. Here we go again. The DOJ is blaming Russia for a disinfo campaign. What people are really not acknowledging is that RT, Russia Today, is not even mostly funded by Russia. It's mostly funded by Qatar. which is a hotbed of intelligence conversion. So I think that's very interesting, and it's interesting that nobody's mentioning it. I'm pretty sure there's Chinese money involved as well, although I haven't found that specifically, so that's more speculation. But just given that it's RT, I imagine that there is. But it's very interesting because so now people who are on the quote unquote right, who are talking about this, are labeled as being fools for falling for the Russian hoax, right? They're like, oh, suddenly you believe the DOJ and you're siding with them, and this is so obviously campaign for the leftist agenda. But I think it's way more nuanced than that, because if you look at the narratives that a lot of these people are promulgating, they're post-liberals. And I really think the post-liberal movement is the right-hand path of the left. I mean, teleologically, they're aimed in the same end goals, right? Their purpose is the same. It's subversion, ideological subversion, and subversion of the Constitution. Both of them are vying for that, although they're coming at it from very different ends. Very different angles. Obviously, we know the left angle, the Marxist angle, but the post-liberals kind of want the same thing too, although most of them are vying for something that looks more like a theocracy. So it's but this is kind of like the trad movement is encompassed in this. The latest iteration of the red pill movement, a lot of them are kind of tied in with that too. Not all of them, they all are kind of different. I mean, I wouldn't say Benny Johnson is the same as Tim Pool, obviously, or as Lauren Chen. But I think what they do have in common is this kind of post-liberal narrative. And so I think it's really clever, because now you're splintering really as there's so many ops where the role that it's designed to do is demoralize, destabilize, and splinter. It's not just the right wing, it's anybody who's not on the left. So now you've got this unification, because the left is really good at unifying. And now you have, and I wouldn't even put it under right-wing umbrella. It's just anybody who's not on the left. Now they're all being splintered with all of these operations. It's very, very clever.
That it's not even the left anymore. It's absolutely an invading force that of outside of what anybody thought it was any of the parties. I mean, would you agree with that?
I don't know. I mean, I think you would identify a lot of the left as being kind of like Marxist, communist, fascist. I know people argue fascism is on the right, but I don't. I mean, it's a totalitarianist. It's if I were to subscribe to that model of the left right, which I don't, but if I were to, I would argue the right looks something more like a anarchistic kind of extreme. Maybe more of a nihilistic, anarchistic state. That it doesn't make sense to me just to argue that fascism is on the right. That I think is just a narrative that was promulgated really by these people who are driving an internationalist economic world order. When you look at Hitler, I mean, it's the Nationalist Socialist Workers' Party. So, I mean, he was a socialist at heart, and he had studied Marx. He was actually very inspired by Madame Blavatsky. I actually got censored on Twitter for putting quotes, direct quotes. I mean, I put page numbers. I said it was Secret Doctrine, Volume 2. I listed the page numbers, and they were just direct quotes. And they limited my post. You can't see it. You can't share it. So that.
Oh no, you were actually exposing them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was direct quotes though. And I said that, there was in quotations. I appealed. They've not responded. They haven't done anything.
Can you give me an example
of the quotes of what I put? Yeah. I can probably read it to you. Hang on. Let me find it.
Let's do that, because this is the No Censorship Brandenburg News Network, No Censorship Network here. We'll put it out there.
Let me find it. It's
okay. I love getting stuff like this out there. It's a great thing. It's a great thing just to be able to go, we're just going to throw this out there a minute.
So, okay, this is what I said. It's long, but I'll read it if you want.
Yeah.
And I can send you the tweet so you can have it if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, let me see if I can. I'm going to text it if that's okay, because I can't do it through the.
Yeah, that's no problem. If you text it to me, I'll throw it on my Telegram channel and I can put it right out there.
Okay.
We have ways. We have skills here.
All right.
If it doesn't work one way, guess what? we go to tour or something like that. Guys, just keep hitting. We're going to keep coming back. Might have to add a few more channels just to aggravate all of you.
Let me get you the other part of it too.
Oh, this is great. I've got a bunch of people that are going to jump on to work on our resolutions. Leb and Charlotte and several others. Thank you so much. I will include you in on that because you did, in fact, text me. I love that.
Here, okay. Let me send this part to you also. And then let me read it because it was so long that even with my blue check mark, I still had to do a part 2. That's how long it was. So this is all right.
That's very long.
Yes,
I love it.
Very long. And it's mostly direct quotations. I mean, the parts about the root races that I summarized, I didn't quote all of that. So this is what I said. Hitler was largely inspired by Madame Blavatsky's secret doctrine. The notion of the Aryan race is explained by Blavatsky as the 5th root race. The first root race is Polarian, considered ethereal. The second root race is Hyperborean. Hyperborea included what is now northern Canada, Greenland, Iceland, Scandinavia, northern Russia, and Kamchatka. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I apologize. It was believed that the climate was tropical since there was no axial tilt to the Earth at that time. The third root race is Lemurian. According to traditional theosophy, Lemurian root race began 34.5 million years ago, and the people of Lemuria coexisted with the dinosaurs. Australia would be considered to be part of Lemuria. That's the part of the Earth. A fourth root race is Atlantean. According to the Theosophists, the first Atlantean subrace was the result of the last or seventh Lemurian subrace, and there were 7 subraces of Atlanteans. The descendants of the Atlanteans include those of the Mongolian race, the Malayan race, and the American Indian race, as well as some of the people in what in the late 19th and early 20th centuries called the olive-skinned Mediterranean race. They are also related to the story of the lost civilization of Atlantis. And you can look that up. I didn't include all of that. It would have been too long. The 5th root race, Aryan. Of course, this was very influential on Hitler. So this is a direct quote, the intellectual difference between the Aryan and other civilized nations of such savages as the South Sea Islanders is inexplicable on any other grounds. No amount of culture nor generations of training amid civilization could raise such human specimens as the Bushmen, the Vedas of Ceylon, and some African tribes to the same intellectual level as the Aryans, the Semites, and the Turanians, so-called. The sacred spark is missing in them. Remember, she believed in the divine spark. And, it's a very panentheistic kind of a worldview. Is missing in them. And it is they who are the only inferior races on the globe. Now happily owning to the wise adjustment of nature, whichever works in that direction, fast dying out. Verily, mankind is of one blood, but not of the same essence. We are the hot house artificially quickened plants in nature, having in us a spark, which in them is latent. Esoteric history teaches us that idols and their worship died out with the 4th race, until the survivors of the hybrid races of the latter, Chinamen, African Negroes, etc., gradually brought the worship back. The Vedas countenance no idols. All the modern Hindu writings do. Secret Doctrine, Volume 2, the 6th root race. Australo-American. According to Blavatsky, the 6th subrace of the Aryan root race will begin to evolve in the area of the United States in the early 21st century and will be called the Australo-American subrace. I also think the 6th root race is kind of the spawn of the transhuman concept, transhumanism.
Wow.
So it's said to be, the 7th root race is said to be the last race to appear on planet Earth. Theosophist Scott Ramsey, this isn't Blavatsky, this is Scott Ramsey, predicts that any sexual difference amongst humans will cease to exist. So you're getting into this very humanist concept, and of course, the whole LGBTQ queer movement, and this idea of the Dionysius, as you were alluding to, the Olympics, right? This worship of a hermaphroditic type of a creature. And this is what they believe that humans will evolve to, because they're looking to return to source, right? To recreate the undifferentiated all, to get away from it's the one versus the many. This is kind of a core crux of theosophy, which has its origins in ancient Egypt and Neoplatonism and throughout. Okay, so it predicts that any sexual difference amongst humans will cease to exist, and both conception and birth will become entirely spiritual. He also writes, humanity will have a great spiritual development, and he describes this development in the following words, quote, everything that is irredeemably sinful and wicked, cruel and destructive will have been eliminated, and that which is found to survive will be swept away from being, owning, so to speak, to a karmic tidal wave in the shape of scavenger plagues, geological convulsions, and any other means of destruction, end quote. And then I think this is kind of the clincher that did it for me. So this is in Secret Doctrine, Volume 2, page 470. With the Semite, that stooping man meant the fall of the spirit into matter, and that fall and degradation were apotheosized by him, with the result of dragging deity down to the level of man. For the Aryan, the symbol represented the divorce of spirit from matter, its merging into and returning to its primal source. For the Semite, the wedlock of spiritual man with his material female nature, the physiological being taking preeminence over the psychological and purely immaterial, right? For them, for the Theosophists, is all about the detaching from anything physical and material. So it's all, in the spiritual realm. The Aryans' views of the symbolism were those of the whole pagan world. The Semite so they're putting the pagan view above the Semitic view, which I think the reference would be the Jewish view at that time, traditional Judaism. The Aryan worldviews of symbolism were those of the whole pagan world. The Semite interpretations emanated from and were preeminently those of the small tribe, thus making its national features and idiosyncratic defects that characterize many of the Jews to this day: gross realism, selfishness, and sensuality. They had made a bargain through their father Jacob with, and then let me see, I have the second part of this quote that couldn't fit it all in one, even though that was okay. So it continues to say their tribal deity and self-exalted above all others, and a covenant that his seed shall be at this dust of the earth, and that the deity could have no better image henceforth than that of the symbol of generation, and as a representation, a number and numbers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
There you go.
And
So,
there you go.
I think there is value in studying things that we don't agree with necessarily, in order to be able to understand how they think.
Mm-hmm.
And how this has influenced modern culture into, honestly, part of their assault against God Almighty, that whom they hate, and they hate us because we're created in the image of God.
Yeah, they will, and their whole, so Madame Blavatsky herself says that it's not a religion, it's a perennial philosophy. So it's really just a worldview, and it's kind of this like Borg soup that throws everything together, because they're trying to eliminate any distinctions. Again, they undifferentiate it all. That's really their goal. They believe that we came from source, and the goal of the human experience is to return to source. So we have to get rid of the distinctions, the individuality. And she says that the only religions that she's opposed to are traditional Judaism, although she welcomes Kabbalistic Judaism. and Christianity. Those are the two that are diametrically opposed to theosophy. Although she says all religions are welcome.
Just you want to watch everybody run for the hills. Mention the name of Jesus. It's unbelievable. It's like, as a Christian, you can mention God, you can do this, that, and the other thing. But the minute you mention the name of Jesus, it is like run for the hills. It's kind of a sad thing. It really is.
It is, but it's very interesting when you look at what's going on right now, because right now we have another op that's running to kind of question the narratives of World War II and paint Hitler as the good guy, right? Have you heard this? This is the Tucker, right? Yeah. So they're painting Churchill as the villain of World War II. Now, I will say this is, I'm like way more nuanced than a lot of people. So I tend to like to step out of these dialectical framings, and I don't really fall onto either side. I honestly, there's no
good guys in history that we know about.
Let me just say this. That's not 100% true. I do believe that there are heroes. However, let me just say this. I do not want, I do. I believe there are heroes. I absolutely believe in heroes. However, that hero is not the same thing as gods or deifying a human. People can be heroic. They're heroic actions.
People can do the right thing, right? People can do the right thing. Yeah.
However, and they lead by example through, their heroic actions. I absolutely believe in that. However, I just want to preface by saying there's no lens through which can be viewed Hitler as the good guy. That I will just say that. However, Hitler, Churchill. I feel a lot of people kind of are falling into one or the other. They're like either Churchill was the hero or Hitler was the hero. I'm like, Hitler was a villain. Like Hitler was a monster. There's just no framework where Hitler is a good guy. Now, I don't think he acted in a vacuum. I don't think he behaved. I mean, we're seeing the influence of Madame Blavatsky here. I actually think that the British intelligence actually brainwashed him. I think they played a large role in creating Hitler. So if you look through history, there are nuances here. However, Churchill, I know it's not popular on the right because people tend to look at Churchill as this big hero. I don't actually think he was. But Churchill not being a hero does not make Hitler a hero, right? So I think Churchill, it's nuanced. I don't see him as like the, great hero that they're trying to paint him out to be in this Tucker podcast. But I do think that I have a lot of grievances with Churchill. I'll just say that. But this dialectical framing is so juvenile. There's just no way that you could make it's not like one of them was good, one of them is bad. I actually think I have a lot of issues with both of them, but Hitler is clearly the villain.
Human beings are all flawed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we should look back for lessons and what we want to do differently. And that's what we need to do. But, I think the fanboy stuff, the fangirl stuff is kind of a stupid way to approach any of this.
Cult of personality.
Yes, the cult of personality.
In the Tucker interview that was just so asinine is like, if you want to point out grievances with Churchill, and I have some, like everything he pointed out was like, there's either no evidence for or it's provably false. So he's just crafting this narrative in order to sow division, demoralization, destabilization. But I brought it up because I just think it's interesting in light of what's going on. They're trying to reframe the narrative so that Hitler is somehow exonerated, not only exonerated, but glorified, which is just absolutely ludicrous. There's just no way. I don't know what kind of warped lens you have to have in order.
I think we should question everything at this point. Because there's so much.
I'm sorry. There's no way. There's no framing that makes Hitler look good. There's just.
I think that going back to that, I think it's important for us to question everything, no matter which side the information is coming from, because it's easy for people to grab onto those things that we want to be, that we want as our heroes or as our villains and such. Mm-hmm. And it's like, for me, I kind of look at things with more of a 40,000 foot, because we're not there. We're not there at this point in time. And there is so many, as you said, there's so many nuances that you can look at.
Hitler was not
Hitler and how many gypsies and Christians that Hitler killed. He killed anyone that disagreed with him. And so it's like to go past this. This was a human, a crime.
Anybody who's outside the Volk. I mean, that was really what it was about. It was about creating a Volk, right? And a Volk was a very specific breed. It was a specific ideology. It was a specific look, specific language. So the reason when I brought up, fascism versus communism, this was not a battle of ideology. This was a battle between men. Stalin wanted to rule the world. Hitler wanted to rule the world. Hitler wanted the Germanification of the world. And they claimed that it was nationalism, but he would be perfectly happy to extend those borders. He wanted to rule. He wanted Germany to rule, and he wanted to rule Germany. Stalin wanted the Soviet Union to, spread throughout. He wanted.
Well, and I think it's a really healthy thing to just question everything and then bring the receipts.
Well,
and what I mean. We have to do that because there's so much conspiracy crap out there in every single direction. And what I see people doing is grabbing any new thought that comes through as now we've got the truth. And it's like, just because it's new doesn't, to my point with what Tucker came out with and everybody else, we have to stop, look, and listen before we grab those new ideas.
I agree with you on that.
That is what I'm saying. That is what you didn't understand what I was saying. But what I'm saying is that I don't care who it comes from. Right. You've got to stop, look, and listen. And not just grab it because you typically like the cult of personality, bringing that to the table, because that's another way, because everything's compromised right now. You got to sit back and look at things and go, well, who's paying the bills? Who's moving the levers? And what is actually the truth behind it? And I think that that's really healthy. And so, I love it. I love it when you bring stuff up like that, because we have to question what we're hearing from everyone, not based on what's even been historically accepted, because everything has been compromised because the victors write the history. Who wrote the history of Germany? Who's writing the history of Germany? Who wrote the history of the United States? And I can look back at this and go, and we got to go because my next guest is getting ready to go on. But when you look at the history of what happened in Promontory, the United States, I really question, and I own a very large rail facility. I really question whether the Transcontinental Railroad was even remotely a good thing. It was a step into globalism right there with that railroad. We can say all we want with it, but they killed millions and millions through what they did there for a tract of land that was through millions of acres. They exterminated the American bison to exterminate the Native Americans. The goal was to kill people. And when you go out there and you look at it, which I did,
a little more nuanced than that. I
mean, that was the majority of it, because they could have left the buffalo, they could have left the tribes alone, and they could have diplomatically had things so that it actually worked. They went through millions of acres and they completely exterminated that. And I think that there is a lot of excuse making for killing people, and it's going on to this day. And everything you bring forward, it just canonizes it into their mindset. Of their mindset is to kill people, to take resources, to divide anybody that's standing out there, and to set us against each other, because that's what Satan does, and he wants us to do their dirty work. And that's to kill each other. We have to sit down and talk with each other as people. And that's what I am completely against, is the splintering and then the manipulation of facts that we want to grab onto as canonized truth, when every damn one of them has been involved in manipulating the narrative from day one. And I think that this is a real healthy thing for, people like you and I to come on and just talk about these things, even not defending what we thought it was, but to just sit back. I mean, this is what we have to do. We have to sit back, and we may think we're right on every point. I guarantee you we're not. There's not one part of what we believe that is absolute, is an absolute at this point in time, because we're sifting through a myriad of lies and manipulation. So like for me, even if I don't agree or disagree with anyone, I'm not sitting here wanting to defend a point or a hill to die on. I want to hear what everybody says, so that just for information, and for information, so that we continue to question everything, because we need to do that. But anyhow, we got to move on, but you want to put the word in here, and then I'm going to move on and Jalise, because we're going to the J6ers in America. And
Great. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah.
I just love you. And I love what you bring forward. I think you're absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
And I love you questioning the accepted narratives.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so healthy. And so, like, when I bring things up, I'm usually agreeing with what you're saying rather than coming at it. Sometimes I think you think I'm coming at it from an adversarial point of view. No, I'm actually listening to you as a way of saying, it's not that we have to question what you're saying as much as we got to question everything. Because you're questioning things. I question things. We have to do that process.
I would just, with the whole question everything narrative, I'm all, obviously I question most things, right? Like I have a curious and inquisitive nature. But I would just put a caveat to it, because part of this questioning these like accepted narratives that's happening right now is a psyop to destabilize and demoralize. So it's like when people are like saying, oh, well, there's some truth here, which that's true. Oftentimes it is the truth that gets weaponized.
It does. Satan gives you enough truth and then puts a few drops of poison in it to lead you astray.
So I think the big question people have to ask is, why now? Why is this being questioned now? Like, it's been, 8.5 decades since World War II, and suddenly it's acceptable to question the narrative. Why now? It's becoming, right? That's
the thing that really gets me is how many Nazis were shipped over to the United States after World War II. I mean, but why is that coming out now? Why is all of this? What is so pivotal on this time that we live in that it's all coming out? And I think that just to keep that, that's why I try to just like listen to everything and go, well, I'm not going to get on any hill to die on right now, because I think they're all corrupt as hell. And that's what it is. It's like, what are they selling? Why are they doing this? That's what I look at. I don't listen to them for fact. I listen for what are they saying, but I want to know why and who are they connected with that's paying the bills, or that is, I'm pushing this forward. But anyhow, I love you. We're going to go to a real quick break, and we'll be talking later. And I'm going to bring on Jalise, Middleton, and J6ers, political prisoners in America. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Good morning and welcome to the third hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 10th day of September 2024. And welcome to the show again, Jalise. And so glad to have you on. We've got the political prisoners in America here, and once again, I'm going to kick this show to you. And I'm not sure, is Richard or is Howard out there? You're muted.
Normally it unmutes when I go live, and he's supposed to be on, so I will check into him and see what's going on here.
I have to run down to do some quasi legal stuff here, and so I'm gonna have to jump off of here, and then I've got you on tomorrow from 10 until noon.
Okay, that's perfect. That might be what I have to do today, is put him over till tomorrow. Okay. I just spoke with him, so
you know what? Then let's do this. If he's not on, because I really do have to go. We can close out today, and then we'll get him on tomorrow, and then that way that gives you time to line that out, because I do have to go. So let's say a prayer right now. And
I love that.
and then let's say a prayer, and then we'll move into our day. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very much for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon all of us and the wonderful time that we live in. We are thankful to be here. We embrace this journey that you put us on in all things, both the things that are not so good and the things that are good, because we know that you're allowing. Satan can't go anywhere he wants. He's a little puke, and he's on a leash, and he can only do what you allow him to do and what we invite him into. This day, we do not allow Satan to take any more ground here for the J6ers in our court system, in the United States government, in our families, within our families and our friends. He's done. We are wanting to walk away from all sin and follow you under your protection in the blood of Jesus Christ, which we know we are under when we accept your precious Son and the gift that he gave us of dying on the cross. We hand everything we have over to you with joy, with contentment, with happiness, knowing that the greatest gift you gave us is your Son and the ability to take part in your good works. You don't need us. We know you don't need us, but you're allowing us. And the reward of walking with you is being able to do good works. And we're so thankful for that. I ask that your favor rest mightily upon Jalise, that she would walk right through this situation, just as those people have that have come before us, that the gates of prison are open and that the prisoners walk out free, fully pardoned, fully free, fully able to walk on this earth and declaring your glory, your might, your honor, your majesty, and all miracles for everyone to hear. We want all glory to go to you. That people would not see us, but that they would only see you through as your body, that they would see you, and that we would disappear, and that you would in fact be shown forward in your glory and honor. We ask that you would turn this nation around, turn this world around, that you would confuse any plans of the enemy, that you would have absolutely confuse everything, the World Economic Forum, the UN, and all of these people who say they're globalists, that they would be turned around in the right direction and realize that our citizenship is in the kingdom of God, in your kingdom. And we stand on that without fear, without wavering, and without any backing down. We are so thankful that you loved us enough not to leave us lost and wandering in our sin, but are bringing us home to be with you forever and with all those that we love. And we ask that every single person bow their head and fall at your feet in repentance of everything that we've done, that we've been guilty of sin. Every one of us has, and you are the only perfect one. And we acknowledge you as such, and we give you all the glory. You've been a great friend to us. And we want to be a friend to you and serve you in this nation. Bring the lost sheep in front of us and help us to see them in what we need to do. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. And with that said, there you go, boys and girls. Go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceder who's ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And we're going to continue to not concede and just punch forward, because guess what? Michigan has become a boxing glove, and we're going to continue this fight until we kick every demonic entity out of this nation and abolish it in the name of Jesus Christ. And that's what's going to happen. No back down, no fear, no walking away from this as we stand together. So with that said, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love. God bless America. Make it a great day. And then I will probably not be on tomorrow, because I'm going to be away from here, and I will be handing this over to Jalise, who is absolutely well informed and able to hand this. We'll start out with Liberty Essentials tomorrow with Ralph and Bill, and I don't know who else will be on it. Probably Karen, and then Jalise will take over at 10. So you guys have a great day today, and God bless you all.
God bless you.